Football 101 with Jay. Hey,
Football
Jay.
101.
Yeah, hey, Jay, can you give us a little background on yourself before we get into the interview? Like where you play high school football and where did you play college football and what position that you played?
I played high school football at John F. Kennedy High School, which is over on the southwest side. I was a 3-year starter, and back in those times we went both ways. I was a 3-year starter at wide receiver and DB, but I, mostly excelled at wide receiver. I went to Alcorn State University, 1987, and played there for a year. And I wound up coming back home after that because I found out that being a high school receiver, you good in your state, but once you go somewhere else, everybody else is good too. And it was like, okay, you know what? We don't need you. we don't need you. But yeah. So I played ball. I played ball high school, 1 year of college, and I came home. And after I didn't play ball, I still wanted to be in the sport, which is why I was a journalism major, which is why I became a sports writer. And I was a sports writer, editor, assistant editor, sports editor at the Western Courier throughout my time, at Western.
Yeah, I just found that out today from Joe Cool. He had mentioned it today on the post.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't know that. I was giving you praise on the post, and Joe Cool said, that's from all them years being a sports editor.
Yeah.
I said, that's why he's breaking down them stats all the time.
Hey, I'm a stat guy. I am a stat guy. I will kill you with stats. I will kill you with stats.
Right.
You're right. You do.
Yeah, you do.
Hey, Plank and Guy, did y'all have any questions before Jay jump into the interview part?
Yeah, I do. Hey, Jay, give me a 2-Jet X quick. Fly, why Dino? I don't know what that means. It just sounded. I do have a question, and it has to do with the route tree. Specifically, can you sort of explain what that is to the general public?
Well, what a route tree is you have routes, and they are numbered. Well, some people number them, some people name them, but a lot of times they're numbered. So you got and they just put it up there for you. There you go. So you got a 1, you got a 1, you got a 2, you got a 3, you got a 4. They call it a tree because it kind of looked like a tree, and you can be in a huddle, and the quarterback will call flanker right, eye backfield, or in Nagy's case, 5 wide, 5 wide, single back, 450, 4-5. So that means that the outside wide receiver is going to run a 4 route. The inside receiver, the slot receiver, is going to run a 5 route. Right, and it goes that's way on the other side. So when you running these routes, you have to make sure that once the route is called, you have to have the proper spacing and run the proper route at the proper length. Because a lot of times people don't understand what happens is when you don't run the correct route, or even if your route calls for 10 yards and you run 8 yards, that can be the difference between a completion and an interception.
Yeah. Okay. That's what's up.
I had a question for Jay as well. Jay, as a receiver, what differentiates the best receivers versus just mediocre ones? Obviously, it can't just be physical attributes, speed, strength, or whatever. What makes a receiver really, really good?
Finesse in your route running. A lot of people think just because I'm fast, I can be a wide receiver. Randy Moss, I really think in my lifetime is the only person that was able to do that. Because Randy Moss was not a good route runner. He can run an ad route, which is straight down the field, but he was never a good route runner. Finesse in running your routes is what makes you a good wide receiver, because you don't have to be fast to be a good wide receiver. But if you're a good route runner, you can make some catches.
Okay, so like, give me an example of what you mean by good route runner.
A good route runner. I sent Bernard a list today of some route runners. You got people like Antonio Brown is one of the best route runners I ever seen, because your route could call you to run a 10-yard out, but are you just gonna run straight and run it out, or are you gonna kind of slant it in and then break it down and then cut it out? That's what makes a good route runner. You have to be able to deceive the DB, because you can make a DB. You can come off the line of scrimmage and make a DB think you running a 9 route, and then you just stop on a dime and break it down. It ain't a lot of wide receivers that can do that. But if you got speed and can run routes, you're gonna be a good wide receiver.
You know what? I always said that there's roughly like 13 one-on-one scenarios in any football game. That's the 11 players each going one-on-one. You got the coaches one-on-one, and you got time. My question for you is your matchup with given any given cornerback or whatever it is. What type of how can I explain this? When you're going up against a guy, like say a guy likes to jam you, or just say you're going to run a fade route or whatever, how does that explain to us, like, how does that one-on-one battle go as far as what you're trying to achieve as opposed to what the defensive back is trying to keep you from doing?
You have to beat him off the line of scrimmage. And that's the thing. The key, to use the example that you said in the jam situation, you got to beat him off the line of scrimmage. That means you got to have head movement. You got to have hip movement. You got to be able to beat a guy one-on-one. And if you can't beat a guy one-on-one off the line of scrimmage, you cannot be a good wide receiver in the NFL. Perfect example, David Terrell, who the Bears wasted a draft pick on from Michigan. He was terrible getting off the line of scrimmage, because he didn't know how to hand fight. He didn't know how to swim move. He didn't know how to do none of that. All his whole thing was, I was in college and I was able to run a route. And that's the thing about it now. These colleges, and I said this back a couple of weeks ago, but even about the quarterbacks, these colleges don't prepare these kids for the NFL, because it's really all about win now. These spread offenses that they got going on in college right now, they don't teach these kids these route trees. They like, run to a spot and we're going to throw you the ball. And that doesn't transfer well in the NFL. That's why you got Darnell Mooney, who I want to talk about. He's a 5th round draft pick. But if you see this dude, he got speed and he know how to run routes.
Sure.
All these other guys that got drafted in the 1st round, I like them. You got like CeeDee Lamb, you got Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson from LSU, who's with the Vikings right now. Excellent route runner. But he came from a program that teaches these wide receivers how to run routes.
Right.
Hey, Jay, I had a question. I was looking at your route tree. I'm going to bring it back up. As far as running routes, can you run a combination of a route within a route? I've heard the term run a sluggo. Like, what is a sluggo? Okay.
Yes, you can. Okay, if you see, looking at this route tree, if you see, I want to say the 6, the drag route. If you see the 6, you see that drag route, which is number 6. If you see that drag route, what really happens with that is the wide receiver will come off the line and he will kind of bend that route. Instead of taking it straight across the field, he will bend that route down. So it might cost for maybe 8 to 10 yards. So what he'll do is he'll run that, and instead of breaking it straight, he'll break it down. It's almost like a curl route. Mm-hmm. which is different from that number 4 route because the curl route, the number 4 curl route is just a 10-yard curl. But when they call like a sluggo, it's almost like we go sluggo over the field. So it's almost like circling your route off, which is that number 6 route.
Okay. Hey, now, is there a difference, Jay, between when you on the goal line, is there a difference between a skinny post and a slant?
No, not on the goal line, it ain't.
Okay.
Not on the goal line,
Only
it
got
ain't.
a yard or two. Right.
Right. On the goal line, a slant is a slant. Now, a skinny post is what they may call, instead of running a 10-yard post, they might break it 3 yards, and it's like a skinny route. So they trying to get in between the linebacker and the safety. So that's what they mean by skinny route.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question for you. Nowadays you see all of these guys that have some remarkable physical skills. So you see a lot of one-handed catches. What is your thought and your idea about that? Is it necessary to do run-hand catches, or is it more important to use both your hands and to secure the ball? I wanted to get your input from that.
Man, this is new NFL. Those are just style points. Back when I was playing, and back maybe just say 5 years ago in the NFL, you really didn't see a whole lot of one-handed catches. But the thing about it now is they practice that.
Yeah.
They practice making one-handed catches. That catch Jimmy Graham made in the end zone last week, he practiced that many times. I'm cool with it, but it ain't something that's gonna make you or break you. Because my old coach always told me, if the ball hits your hands, you should catch it. So right. Whether it's one hand or 2 hands, it's all the same thing.
As long as you don't drop it, right?
As long as you don't drop it.
Okay.
You know what? Something I'm sorry. Go ahead, B.
Oh, hey, the question was, I lost my place where I was at with it. Was Jay, who are, in your opinion, the 10 best route runners that you've seen or that's ranked in the NFL?
Ooh, 10. Ooh.
Well, I did send you a list today, and if I can remember, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but like I said, Antonio Brown, which I hate he screwed his career up. Antonio Brown was one of the best route runners that I've ever seen. And not only because he ran good routes, but he has speed too. So you got Antonio Brown, you got Wes Welker, you got Jerry Rice, who wasn't fast, but he ran excellent routes. Anquan Bolden, who wasn't fast, but ran excellent routes. Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, even these new school guys. I hate to admit it, Devontae Adams from the Packers, that dude is an excellent route runner. So, Jason Witten, even as a tight end, he was an excellent route runner. And it's just one of the things where you know how to get open and you don't, your body movement don't dictate to the DB what route that you're trying to run.
Okay.
That's a great point. Here was my question. Just say play calls for you to run slant, slug, or whatever. You guys get to the line of scrimmage, and your standard 3-4 defense turns into like a cover 2 or cover 3. What is the banner like, or how does it go to kind of like sort of like know to deviate? I mean, like, because I've seen sometimes with guys, they'll call out audibles, or sometimes they'll have one where you don't hear any audibles, and it just seems like the announcers are saying, oh, he was supposed to run this route, but he saw this defense and his route changed. Could you explain that to us as far as like reading the defense and changing routes?
Well, that's really all about the quarterback and the wide receiver being on the same page.
Okay.
If Nick Foles come up to the line, which he did an excellent job last week, you come up to the line and you read the defense and you see it, and you're like, okay, you know what? We're going to kill this play.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to kill this play. Because a lot of times what happens is, in certain game situations, you call 2 plays in a huddle. Because this whole thing's like, okay, we're going to go up to the line of scrimmage. They've been playing this. If we see this, we're going to kill that play, and we're going to go to the second play that we call. So it's really all about the quarterback and the wide receiver being on the same page. And a lot of times in those particular instances, the wide receiver is just going to find an opening, because all you're looking for in that particular instance, all you're looking for is an open space. Okay. You're looking for an open space.
So I got a question for you. Okay, so let's say DB versus wide receiver. That chess game's always
Let's go.
going.
Let's go. I got you. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. I got you.
Within 2 minutes of the game, you know they're trying to get to the outside. You know they're either trying to get deep or they're trying to get a catch and go out of bounds to save that timeout. What happens if you come up to the line and I'm already playing you so that you can't get to the outside no matter what? I give you the inside. You can get a slant, whatever. That doesn't do as much damage to me. How do you mentally, you and the quarterback, signal each other like, okay, we're gonna make it look like we going outside and we'll do something else? That's what I'm thinking about now. What you got?
And you're right. I'm gonna make you, if you taking the outside from me, yep, I'm still gonna make you think I'm going outside, because guess what? As a wide receiver, I don't care who you are. I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna beat you. But if you're taking that outside away from me, then I will take the inside, because guess what? If I take the inside and I make a catch, if you don't tackle me, it's called yak. It's called yak. Yards after the catch, it's called yak.
Yeah. Hey, I know we're about to wrap up the broadcast in a few minutes, and we got this D-back versus receiver thing. I was a running back myself. I know Plank was a D-back.
That's what I said. Come with it.
Yeah.
Come with it.
But what I wanted to do was next week on the Football One-on-One segment, I heard Guy just mention, I think it was Guy that mentioned cover 3. That was you guy that said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Plank just mentioned cover. What I would like to do, Plank, if you would like to come back and talk about how do you defend that, because what we hear a lot of people say, and sometimes I know they might not be, to me, not knowing what they're talking about in one sense, right? Not trying to insult anybody intelligence, but I used to hear a lot of Bears fans, especially when Lovie Smith was here, they're in the cover 2, and I'm like, how do you know they're in the cover 2?
Yeah,
and so if you could come back next week and explain like what is a cover 2, because I think because people see 2 safeties, which is normal in most defenses anyway, that doesn't mean they're playing cover 2. They just got 2
absolutely
right.
And
when Guy said cover 3, I know a lot of people don't know like what is cover 3, and even when they probably picking on Madden, they don't know what they're picking. They just pick a defense that works. But so maybe you could explain like what is a cover 2, what is a cover 3, how do you defend those routes that Jay's talking about running? Like what is do they run? What is a zone defense? Do they play zone and man to man all in the same scheme? Because defense are complex. And so. And like in Jay's case, they put them in motion to try to figure out what is the defense in. So if you be mind coming next week so we can have this part 2, wide receivers versus D-backs. What do you think about that, Plank?
I'm gonna put them in a box in one. That sounds like a plan. Let's do
it. That's a free 5 nickel. Free 5 nickel. Isn't it?
And that would have been a 12